Hi guys, Martin from Belief. In this video we're going to look at how to create, edit and manage the links in your footer down the bottom of your website. And we're also going to look at how to do the same with the links in the header of your website, which hopefully comes up in a second so I can show you quickly. And the ability or the capacity to update, edit and manage all these assets as you need to underpins our agile marketing philosophy, which is very broad, and that is you should be able to affect changes, create changes very quickly and respond to consumer sentiment and news cycles and the needs of your known customer base and so on. So there's those links towards the top. Now, the header looks very different on different websites, as does the footer. And this can be styled in any manner that floats your boat. You can count 16 elements on the footer there and 15 elements itself within the general disclaimer. So what we'll do, well, first and foremost, I'll show you what it looks like on a mobile device, because that's kind of important. It's a big menu and chunky, so you need to see what it looks like. So I've just dragged in a browser window here which shows what your website might look like, or a page, a specific page in your website might look like on a mobile device. Now this bar towards the top, there's a video on how to change this color and text and so on. And these links, by the way, the booking, contact, phone number and home link will generally link to default pages unless it is or has been assigned with specific details for a certain landing page and so on. This header must be on every page, just without exception. There's no exception to that rule, because on a mobile device in particular, we need to capture the attention of the user very quickly and funnel them through to an appropriate resource. On landing pages, there is a second bar here, by the way, that's underneath, where it says BM Demo Website Finance Specialist. That text varies, the link is the same, that's the home button, and that can also be altered. It's not always shown, so I'll show in another video how that's manufactured and so on, and how you can eliminate it entirely. On landing pages, by the way, the logo isn't necessarily shown because it takes up valuable resources in the primary viewport area. That's this area here. That should be focused on the primary call to action. So we include the logo in other ways where it's not distracting. You don't want to have your user scroll down to access something, as we do here, but this is an internal page, so it's a little bit different. So what it looks like on mobile is like this. The three buttons stack. Sometimes these are a little bit closer together. The buttons themselves are obviously customizable, as are the links, and the footer menu items just stack on top of each other. There is the capacity to remove certain menu blocks from showing on mobiles, but it's down towards the bottom of the page, so it's normally suitable. And then we've got the location block, the disclaimer and the social logos and all that sort of stuff that goes on the bottom of your website. So I'll drag that back off screen. We'll jump straight into Yabber and we'll create a menu. All right, looks like when I use screen recording software, it does slow down a lot, which is happening right now. So I'm having trouble even bringing up browser tabs. So we'll give that a second to do its thing. And I'll just reiterate, someone said the other day, they said, what you're giving me is a DIY experience. Am I going to have to do everything myself? Obviously not, and absolutely not. You know, it's a functional website. When every website is like any other website you get from anywhere else, in that we deliver it to you and it's functional, it just works. And there's certain text that meets a standard which might be considered best practice, or our best practice. And that said, you know, your ability to maintain your own website very easily, or certain components or assets on your websites, is super important. Again, agile marketing is based on being able to deploy campaigns, for example, in seconds without having to wait for anybody that isn't on your direct team. And that applies to things like landing pages and so on. I'm still waiting for this page to come up. The PC is literally frozen. Off screen here, I'm shutting down Adobe and all sorts of stuff. That seems to have worked. All right, so we're on the SMS page here. You can access the menus from one of two primary ways. And once we get there, there are a couple of actions that will have to be performed. First of all, from the website content menu here, you can select that, and that will take us to the page that we're about to navigate to. So from the primary website management page, the little chevrons on the right-hand side and left-hand side of most panels, and that will cycle through various other resources that apply to, in this case, your website. If you're on the social module, you'll use those toggles, and they become, I guess, less and less important or less and less relevant. The second panel, for example, shows the FAQ, the About, News, Awards Values, your video, social and download library, calculators, employment, which are, you know, secondary sort of modules, so relatively important, at least to some people. The third button takes us towards some of the internal assets, which is Contentus, which includes menus. Now, first of all, not all Contentus items are listed here because there's dozens. They become more relevant when you engage in more aggressive promotion, certainly with landing pages and things like that, and you need to maintain or at least build landing page blocks. The landing page system is really, really good. And we've sort of forced best practice on guys in certain ways, such as that menu I showed you before, the mobile contact banner and so on. Those sorts of things just have to be applied, so they will apply on every page, whether you like it or not. To disable those, we'll generally have a discussion. Now, selecting the menu is going to take me to a page with empty tables, that is the review and edit tables. As recently as today, we made updates to this system, so Dom's a little bit behind in catching up with we went through the X framework on the website, the XY framework, and now we're up to the XYY. And every time we do this, it requires updates to Yabber in order to support new features or updated features that are applied on the website. It's all backwards compatible, at least from the X series, so 2025X. Everything's backwards compatible. And that's why we're so aggressive, I guess, in having everyone sort of update to a more modern framework that included, 100 extra pages and different modules, had to focus on different types of things like street reports and so on. Okay, the internet is running ridiculously slow, so I'm going to have to just continue sort of talking nonsense. Now, here's the page here, My Menus, Menu Slugs and Menu Locations. It's the My Menus section, which will be applicable to you. This will list all those menus that you've created, both your vertical footer menus and your lateral menus towards the top of your website. The Menu Slugs and Menu Locations relates to when you use these menu blocks in other locations on your website. So the slugs are specific slugs that are assigned by way of a specific panel that I won't show in this video, that'll be another video. But basically you can globally update multiple lists in a single list in multiple locations. An example might be links to state first-time buyer grant homepages, or links to certain federal programs that might apply specifically to first home buyers, or certainly if you're invested in the investment property market, you'll generally list to certain tax resources and so on, and those links may change. So those two menus aren't particularly, or those two tables, sorry, aren't applicable necessary for the purpose of this video. We're just looking at changing those three blocks towards the bottom of the website and the single block towards the top. So give it a few days and that table will be there. I'll have to recreate this video, which is a pain in the ass. To create a new menu block, select Create. And this will bring up a panel where we can create a menu for any website. We'll create a vertical menu, notice vertical and lateral. They are essentially identical in the way that they are manufactured, with the exception of some of the stylistic components. Categories are shared amongst all Contentus modules and some other modules. Initially, you'll create one category called General, and you'll apply it to everything you do. However, as your marketing matures, you will invariably lean towards optimizing those granular touch points with clients. And it does make a difference, and certainly if you're interested in granular statistics, the category makes a big difference. But initially, one category is fine. We don't want to overcomplicate things, certainly initially. So I'll select that black button there. That'll open up the creation panel, we give the menu a name so it can be identified, both with elemental widgets, but certainly from within your website and on those review tables that aren't created yet. There's two options here: apply optional list spacing, apply optional item style. List spacing includes the icon here. Now, if there is an icon assigned here, it will override, as we'll see shortly, any icon that is applied to the specific menu item. I recommend leaving virtually all of these alone. Maybe just adding the, I like right chevron circle. It tends to work quite well for menus. Keep it uniform. So if you apply the right chevron with an arrow coloured, whatever they call it, for one menu, make sure you do so for the others, just to pretty it up. A point that's worth noting here is we've got 8 menu items times 3. That's 24. This is the standard stack we apply to everybody. We've done it for years. Even before we sort of built a framework, these are the standard 24 items that we stick in the footer if we give you this specific style of footer, because there was a different style that we applied by default for a long time. However, if you're not using the login button, if that's removed from within Yabber or manually, that aligns nicely with the opening hours text here, and it just looks good. If you're keeping the login button, it's handy, or it's good if you can stick in 10 items for each block, or even 11. So it just fills up that little bit of space there. It does mean you've got far more resources linked to in your footer, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Link to important pages. Important pages. We don't have property reports in here, for example, because not everybody does property reports. Not everybody wants to engage with that, despite the fact that, you know, those guys that are using the landing pages they're going gangbusters for the last 6 or 8 months maybe. They've just been absolutely killing it. So let's continue to add on the optional style. So text color, text hover color, if you want to change that. I generally don't change that. The text size, 0.9 is what I use, which is 0.9 of the standard font size within your website, and no hover effect. I like bold text. In our example, we have bold and underline, which also works well for menus. It doesn't work well anywhere else, but menus it works okay. I don't remember what we did at the top. Yeah, so it's got the underline there as well. So to add items, you simply click this green button. To order each of these items, you drag and drop them into place if required. To remove them, there you go, select the red button, it disappears. Now, from the page menu, so where the link will take an individual, there are a large number of pages listed. Resources, for example, website pages, which are, you know, about all your front pages and things like that, your blog, all the switch pages for different industries, certainly finance pages, which are cornerstone pages, all the construction loans, first-time buyers, investors, refinancing, all that sort of stuff you're going to find there. Now down towards the bottom, you've got login and log out links, and I'm going to have to hang up on a call that's coming through. Login and log out links and modal links will link to a Yabber modal. Now there are 2 types of modals that we use. Well, in fact, there's about 10, but there's 2 that are important to brokers. And I'll come back to that in a second, because the last thing I'll point out here is phone numbers. You can link to phone numbers and email addresses as well from the menu items. So modal links are standard modals, and we also have a system called Modular, which is built into your website, and it's mainly used for delivering forms, step forms, different types of lead capture information, apply online stuff, uploading documents if necessary, and certainly those of our managed guys, most of them I guess have the comparison engine now, but certainly our other guys will progressively be given the comparison engine as we come up with a specific style that tends to work best for the website. And with each of the products that is listed, there is a button for more information and apply now and inquire now and all those sorts of things, and it links to a stepped form which guides people through a number of steps that they can then submit through to you. So look, it's just, there are any number of options that might apply on the button. It can do virtually whatever you want to do. Against agility is being able to just sort of create a link to a phone number, and we will have to create, for each of these buttons, we will have to create the anchor text. That is the text that is shown for the button. So I can type in 1300 funnel there, and that would be the button text. And again, if a parent icon is selected up here, the icon that we select down here is ignored. If that's empty and an icon is selected here, this icon is used. We don't like mixed icons in the footer and header menu. Now I have a menu that I've created here. It's called Demo Vertical Menu, used it forever. Right arrow circle, so it's the same chevron. Demo category, icon margin and vertical spacing were kept the same. Bold text for the decoration, and we've got a number of items here. The self-assessment report, the login modal, these are just for demonstration purposes, obviously. The blog, the example, CommBank modal, demo modal is the anchor text, an email, a phone number, streets, search streets and geographic data, property reports, and home. What I'll do, just for the sake of the example, is I'll type in here, in fact I'll just copy that from off screen because that was used for another demo. We'll stick in from rate, comparison rate, which are just standard placeholders we use everywhere. And I'll just link that for the moment back to your, I don't know what I typed in there. Back, if I move my keyboard 1 centimetre to the right, that'll work. There we go. Home. I just want you to see how that data is created in real time. Two things here, I guess. See if that's open a tab. Yes, it is. So we would link that page to this page probably, or the comparison engine if you have it up and running. So I don't want to get into a long rant about rate, but whenever I mention it, I feel like I need to talk about it for at least 35, 40 seconds. And that is, and I say it all the time, 94% of consumers consider rate to be twice as important as any other attribute when it comes to considering a home loan. We have to speak in a language that the consumer understands. They understand rate. It dominates the news cycle. It dominates all types of media across TV and everything else. The RBA talks about rate, rate, rate. The rate increase, the rate decrease, whatever else. As far as consumers are concerned, for the most part, rate is the most important thing in the world. So I think brokers struggle sometimes with bifurcating, rate chasers with someone that's interested in rate. So the mutual exclusivity there is not necessarily understood. So rate is important, it plays a part, and certainly from a best interest duty perspective, I consider this page to be essential. You don't go into a shoe shop that doesn't sell shoes, you don't go into a car yard that doesn't sell cars. This is your product, this is what you're providing, and you can't claim to support education if you don't provide that information that the consumer actually needs. Getting them onto the phone bypasses those steps in the funnel that are often necessary. The know-like components, which includes the expertise, education, experience, authoritativeness, and so on. And that sort of leans into trust. And that part of the pyramid is supported by a number of things such as video and so on, and the quality of the information on your website, all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go into it, even though I just did, but I could go into it forever, but I won't. It irritates me to hear people diminish the value of something that consumers consider to be most important. Right? Your job is to convert them into thinking like you do. So part of that education process is to educate them on why a specific rate that might be the lowest is not necessarily best for them, despite it's something that they qualify for. So that's your job, but to get them through the door, you need to provide this sort of information, and it makes you stand out. The purple cow thing. People stop and take photos of a purple cow. They drive past every other, and it's the same in the digital world. People stay and engage with the purple cow, in your case, your website, whereas they'll bypass others because others don't deliver the kind of information that they're after. It's simple consumer/digital psychology that is ignored by 99.9% of website owners. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So I'm going to save this specific line here. Now there's an important thing to know, and that is if you change one menu panel, you're required to change 4. Basically, we're handing over management of those menus to you. So when you create 1, you must create 4. So you're disconnecting yourself from the default system. And that was done very intentionally. So we've created that. Now, whenever we make a change, we need to update our website. So we've just saved this, which is 9, not that one. We've just saved this, which is 9 menu items, including that lower one there. You can drag and drop all these again. You can do all sorts of things. It's very scalable. What we're going to do is select send. This is going to update your website with all that information you have defined in Yabber. Select your website, hit send. The menus are updated on your website. However, our website doesn't know what menu to apply where, and that's actually done via the website management panel. So if you have a whole bunch of default menus created, you can alter those as you need to. It is hooked into the conditional system, which means different menus can show for different groups of people with different text, but it's very rarely used just because it adds a workload and complexity to your operation. All our managed guys use it. We do that by default, but certainly for most guys it's not necessary. So you've got the header and the footer. These 2 icons here. I'm going to select the footer here. And the entry screen will show us the footer menus. Footer menus, this is for the logos, that's for compliance, which is your general disclaimer, and LP float is a floating banner that applies on landing pages that fixes to the footer of your page. On pages with forms, it'll link back to the form, and on other pages it either is shown, or if there's information there to be displayed, or it doesn't show at all. In most cases it'll show. Again, it's occupying real estate, so we only use it when it's needed. So we're going to select our demo site, and I've got 3 options here. I'm going to select demo vertical menu, and demo vertical menu. So I'm assigning the same menu to 3 locations. Why? Because I've only got 1 menu created. You're not going to assign 1 menu to 3 locations, obviously. I'm going to save that. It's a green button, which means it's a live change. It's going to impact your website straight away. Let's refresh this page and have a look at our 3 identical menus side by side. The change isn't necessarily immediate. It is most of the time. There is a caching lag sometimes, so it can take a few seconds to update with new information. I'm just going to have to refresh this page again. There we go. And there we are. So let's just look at one stack here. That will take us to a new page. Now, if you can see the URL in the bottom left-hand corner there, it will show you that we've applied UTM tracking tags, which are UTM reporting tags, basically, UTM source, UTM medium, UTM campaign. And that's because it will register in Yabber. So we know who's clicking on links, what links and where and why and all that sort of stuff. So that is applied by default. You don't have to worry about that, obviously. It just does it, and it tells you what page the individual was on as well. Coupled with things like heat maps and so on, you get a really good picture and understanding of the activity on your site. There's a login button if you're using the back-end system for your internal portal, so your intranet, your client, education area, partner, login. There's about 5 different password protected areas. That includes the real estate module as well, by the way. So there's a lot of different ways in which you can have people. This access is managed via Yabber, so different people are given access to different resources as they need it. And that's integrated with Microsoft 365. So you're essentially granting access to a contact from your Microsoft 365 contact folder, and you pull those up in Yabber, and whole other video, whole other story. But it just works really well. So that's the login blog. Demo modal, that's the CommBank modal. We'll hit that, and there we go. There's the CommBank modal. This can be any shape, size, whatever else. Obviously, there's a video that deals with that. It can show videos as well, which is very handy. Demo modal, demo email link. You can see in the bottom left there, it's showing the email hyperlink. I won't click that because it'll just open Outlook. Demo phone link, once again, that's more suited to mobiles than it is desktop, unless you're using specific software. Property reports, which will link to the property report page. And there's that page, there's that link where we've put the interest rate in, 474,558. Now let's talk about 474. That's not a rate you'll use on your site, right? There's a buffer that's applied. If rates show that shouldn't show, we just increase the buffer for your specific site. That's a green line with, I think, Bank Australia. And 558 is obviously the comparison. But that's a green line. And we talked about the other day, design and distribution obligations, the Credit Act, the Privacy Act. There's a whole bunch of different pieces of legislation that it doesn't strictly prohibit the inclusion of a rate that, certainly in your website where people are already here, it doesn't prohibit the use of that rate, but certainly in external promotion, you would never, ever, ever use that rate. Just never, without exception. That includes in website titles, and we've got an article on our website that deals with that, but I'm getting way off point. So it looks really nice. Now, what I'm going to do very, very quickly is log back into, I'm going to get rid of that page. I'm going to select the website header now. You remember our page header look like that: home, about us, our team, resources, lender, data, partners. I'm going to select here from the website header. You really have to, I'm sorry that these tables aren't here at the moment, but it's been a big effort. We had to scrap data that, features that we've used for over 15 years. 2007 was the earliest table that we've used, or at least the earliest asset that was modified and updated. And it was all necessary because when we migrate all this stuff over to a dashboard, it would have otherwise been a real big challenge. So the mobile header is super important. That's the mobile header we looked at before. Sender website is just updating the mobile header, and anyway, that's not important. I don't remember what it does. I'd have to look at it. So lateral menu, let's look at it. Let's select Belief Business, and we're going to select a menu now. Green button becomes live immediately, and it's saying assign header lateral menu, no menus available. That's a bit of a nuisance. I can actually bypass that. What I'll do is off screen, I will just update a little flag in the database there, and now I've got demo lateral menu full. I don't know what that menu is. It was the only one I saw there that I identified as one of our one for the demo website, and I'll select that and I'll refresh this page, and this new menu will be shown. I have to refresh this page again, and my mouse is getting stuck, but that's okay. The items we've included across here are normally sufficient. Some guys don't want partners. They don't have a partner program. If you don't, you're nuts. It's where we spend 90% of our time. Probably about 500 million a month comes off, 500 or 600 million, in fact, comes on the back of partner programs. So here we go, home, property reports, call now, log in, my modal. Now you'll notice straight away, there's a really big difference here in that we've used individual icons across the top, whereas we did not do that down the bottom. So where we had the option of selecting an individual icon for the specific menu item, that's exactly what we've done in this case. So my modal is a sample modal link that was obviously included into that image. That's this is a modal design. It should be assigned to Bankwest when created. Okay, that's just obviously for demo stuff. The login link, we've got the call now. Yeah, we've got the call now button, the property reports link, and home. They're just for demo purposes. Obviously, yours wouldn't look like that. I think in the other header menu that we had, it doesn't matter, but certainly across the top, I do prefer to have. Okay, here we just use the standard right chevron for 3 internal items, which is that should be, as far as I'm concerned, sort of the default icon you use. We use home, far left, and lender data and partners. Again, that doesn't show on mobile devices or anything. The other area occupied, obviously, by this top header area is the rate bar, the RBA cash rate, all up to date. It's all kept up to date every day. And that link, that little icon there, often overlooked by guys, will take you through to the page which shows an RBA cash rate, the exchange rate, and so on. It provides a few links on that page through to other resources on your site. That's not important. I'm going to go back into Yabber here. I apologise, I'm having to hang up on multiple phone calls. All right. Now it's coming through on Skype. I'll hang up there again. So that's that, guys. It is a highly functional and highly agile system. I know it's just menu items, right? It is just menu items, and it's a boring, simple system and everything else. But the ability to update little things like this is important. You don't want to have to rely on a web developer for something so simple. You don't want to have to log into WordPress for something so simple. And like I said before, every asset on your website, every component, every block is designed in such a way that it can be updated like this. And that is just so important from a digital perspective. You need a dynamic experience, and then you need to be able to take control of your site. When you have control of certain facilities on your website, you will find yourself making changes more often because it doesn't require any effort. Yabber is, at the moment, it's not the dashboard format, at least the consumer-facing component is not the dashboard format. So it is easy to use in terms of, I think the menu structure, despite the fact it's archaic in one sense, only because it's not dashboard. Open source dashboards are used everywhere now. It takes a day to build a dashboard for anything. It's super, super simple. They're frameworks that support the creation of that sort of stuff. But it's very difficult for us to migrate this over to a dashboard in any easy way, only because there's over 1,000 individual modules, and a dashboard with 1,000 modules becomes cluttered, and more cluttered than Yabber, and that's why sort of the 3-tiered or 4-tiered menu system tends to work here. So there you go, guys. If you have any issues, inquiries, concerns, whatever, you discover any bugs, give me a call on 0400 777 300. It's my mobile number. Call or text at any time. Our office number 1300 235 433, and our website beliefmedia.com.au.